don't tell me that I'm a weirdo because I'm upset about this. I'm just sick of dishonorable trash.
Supreme Cobra Commander!
You're failures! You think I'd sell my family out like you, dirtbag? Well, I told you 16 years ago in my film Police State 2000 that the federal government was setting something up called Homeland Security. That was several years before they officially set it up. And that it was under the RAND Corporation plan for a national stabilizing military/police force. You can look up those public plans. It's kind of why I knew what was coming in the future, because there was actual plans. I made films about it. I don't have a crystal ball. I'm not psychic. And people would say, oh, come on, Alex, that's not true, even though I showed people the documents in the film. Well, today it's in Reuters and other publications. New York City's gunshot detection recording private conversations. Yes, it's a microphone system, not a gunshot detector. They're shotgun mics that can listen to you from hundreds of yards away. They were advertising them in the federal grants as that. The point is they treat us like children. A year ago, when we were breaking national news about illegal Stingray units being put up by Homeland Security everywhere, we broke the Stingray units 8 years ago. Mikhail Phelan had secret documents from inside Homeland Security. Became a national news story. They came out and said, we don't know what these are, and we're not putting them up. The FBI said that. They talk to us like we are children. And, of course, now they admit, oh, it is the government. We are grabbing all your cell phone data without warrants and listening to it and cracking your phones and running, you know, all this data management systems. It's an arms race, not just the NSA or CIA, but police departments. And they're spending our money to do it, and it's not being used to keep us safe, and it's unconstitutional. Now, continuing here, folks, I want to spend the next few segments, and then Anthony Gucciardi, our reporter, will stay with us when we take phone calls at the bottom of the hour, getting into how these things connect together. I'm not bragging. I'm just pointing out that I made films. I wrote articles that were in WorldNet Daily. Was interviewed in articles on WorldNet Daily at the time in 1998, 99, 2000 about plans for martial law, plans for gun confiscation, plans to use civil emergencies as the pretext to do trial run gun confiscations. You then saw it years later, 2005 at Katrina. You've now seen gun confiscations in Canada during flooding, and they denied that last year. It just came out last week. It did happen. There are plans to prepare the police and military for gun confiscations. I don't need to play ABC News saying all the guns will be taken, no one will be allowed to be armed, and show them taking guns in Katrina in high and dry areas. You know that happened. Molon Labe, Connecticut's terrifying start of gun confiscation, town hall. It's beginning. Now, the military itself is not bad. They're some of the most awake people. But they are being prepared for gun confiscation and war with the American people. Now, last week, this broke at Infowars.com, and we're going to go back over it and show viewers. Radio listeners, go to Infowars.com and have Mikhail Phelan, who's working today, repost this to the front page. Feds preparing to invade Texas. List state as hostile. Some participants will be wearing civilian attire and driving civilian vehicles. And then they admit it's a psyop to win the hearts and minds of locals and to basically prepare them for the, quote, needs of the military. That's what they said in that psyop on NBC News about clergy response teams, about under martial law, we're going to have to suspend your rights for the needs of the government. We don't have a country with a government. We have a government with a country, to quote William Binney, the former technical director of the NSA who was in studio with us last week. We're going under a Pacific Union because we're part of the Pacific. No one's allowed to see it, not even Congress. It's secret, just like the FCC power grab. It's all happening right now. So I want to give you some past articles. How the U.S. military would crush a Tea Party rebellion. Forbes. How they're trying to take on their number one enemy, the, quote, Tea Party, because they're real Americans. Feds are preparing to invade Texas. There's that article. Here's the Civilian Inmate Labor Camp Program and National Emergencies Centers Establishment Act, Congress.gov. They don't call them FEMA camps, folks. That's what they call them. Hillary, we need fun camps for adults to teach them how to not be racist. That's called a re-education camp. We played that clip Friday. You cannot make this stuff up. That's what this is all about. HBO documentary hypes militia threat. See, they're gearing it all up. Now, you tie that in with this headline. Homeland Security monitors Tea Party at Florida IRS protest. BizPac review. The war on the Tea Party. Washington Times. After declaring war on Tea Party, Karl Rove frets GOP establishment not getting enough donations. The war on the Tea Party. All these other articles. Obama tweets Netanyahu liked the Tea Party. Democratic boss last week. This was actually last year. They said it again last week. Tea Party more extreme than ISIS. That's the talking point. Montel Williams said that about me last week. Now, all of that said, people go, oh, like the Army's going to come into Texas and get the guns. Yeah, if they get ordered to, and the Texas legislature says no, why do they list Texas and Utah as, quote, hostile to the, quote, Pentagon? Because the Pentagon works for the globalists now. They've had a massive purge of generals, admirals, you name it. There's missing nukes. We're going to break that down in a moment. You look at all the open borders, the power grabbing, Obama saying you can raise taxes outside of law. It's here. It's here. We're going to break in a few minutes, but I want to tie all this in with Bloomberg, the Daily Beast, and a whole bunch of other publications yesterday and today coming out and saying that I said that Obama's going to nuke Charleston. No, we said there were missing nukes in 2007. That came out. This time we had sources that were missing nukes at Dias. It did not come out, but there were responses in the media. And now that freeze on covering it's gone, and it's in the news. Wow. If true, Obama's secret plan to nuke Charleston, South Carolina. That's the headline. Anthony, we're going to break in 2 minutes. You've got the floor until we come back. And then when we come back, the point is they're moving. Things are changing. These stories all tie together. They're power-grabbing everything. There's been another top nuke commander fired yesterday. This is basically everybody. Now, what do you think's going on?
Well, if we flash back to September 3rd, 2013, there's some really, really key points that highlight all of this. And it's important to understand our article that we did and the video we did. Exclusive, high-level source confirms secret U.S. nuclear warhead transfer. And specifically what that was, and we published the quote, was someone from Dias Air Force Base telling us that they were secretly moving nuclear warheads from Texas to, specifically, they said, South Carolina. And here's what it gets.
And we called the police there that were in the big standoff with them and the illegal transfers. There was no paperwork. And they said, we're not going to comment on that. See, they never denied it. And then within hours, Lindsey Graham freaks out and says, do what I say or nukes are going to go off. CBS News.
Exactly. And here's the really important part. So the commander of the base was apparently on site to give authority to release. This is a quote from our source here. There was no directive. No one knew where they were going, but the truck driver said to take them to South Carolina. Okay. So this is exclusive, but before anyone said anything.
And who's on the Armed Services Committee?
Yes.
Lindsey Graham.
Exactly. And then we have on September 5th, we found out hours later he went on speech, and it wasn't even made public until September 5th. Senator Lindsey Graham warns of nuke strike after missing warheads report. Specifically, he said that he was concerned that South Carolina could be under a terrorist nuclear attack, and he was warning the citizens that Charleston Harbor would be the actual location. And this is beyond that. Okay, that's insane, right? Vice Admiral this is a vice admiral who was fired the same day later after we broke this report. He was the #2 nuclear commander in the United States of America.
Then they fired the head guy a week later.
Used since before the days of the Roman Empire to support the body's natural systems and enhance overall health. Introducing the new InfoWarsLife.com oil of oregano formulation, a highly advanced nutraceutical form of this key herb that has been traditionally used by civilizations for thousands of years to promote health. We have now procured the most high quality and potent forms of oregano oil on the market, sourced from top leading manufacturers to ensure a concentrated level of bioactive ingredients. Extracted directly from the wild herb and sealed in easy-to-use capsules, you will no longer need to endure the burning of liquid oregano on the tongue. Wild crafted from the Mediterranean oregano species that experts agree is one of the most powerful and most challenging to acquire. This winter season, it's more important than ever to secure this true form of oil of oregano. Now available in our limited first run at InfoWarsLife.com. That's InfoWarsLife.com or call 888-253-3139.
longtime listener, I mean, you know this to be true, but if you're a new listener, you can just search my name and InfoWars. We've broken hundreds of national news stories. And every time they go, it's not true that the Pentagon's training to take on the Tea Party and the #1 enemy is veterans and gun owners and libertarians and Ron Paul. And then they call the FBI, this is 6 years ago, and go, is that report real? And they go, yes, and Mr. Jones isn't supposed to have it. It's restricted. I mean, do you think I want to get on air and say a whole bunch, more than 5 warheads loaded on trucks that weren't even supposed to be there, and the police go, where's the paperwork? There aren't supposed to be nukes here. They have private police there. And the military were there, too, going, yeah, they were the ones that flagged to the police and said, we've been told, but there's not even an order from the base commander. And everybody's marveling at nukes in 18-wheelers. What was it, 3 trucks, and it's going to South Carolina. And then we didn't just believe the source that is confirmed, good source. And it was their duty to tell us, but let's just say this. This person's known this person, I'm not going to say I know them, for a very long time and had now talked to him in 2 years, will not talk to him. And then I call the police at the base, and we called them all on air. And they're like, we're not going to discuss this with you. And then I talked to another source, another journalist that actually lives out in that area, and they talk to him. They go, yeah, don't ask us about that. So then all hell breaks loose, and within 1 week, 36 nuke commanders, generals, are fired. That's, what is that, CBS News as well. So Anthony Gucciardi, people that ask us, well, what's going on? I don't know what's going on. But I know that suddenly Santorum was asked about this at its town hall, and Bloomberg, which doesn't go with something unless it's been green-lighted, and Daily Beast, well, that's the subgroup of, what, Newsweek? The online Newsweek? And a bunch of other publications all attacked me for this weekend, and us. So the question is, what does it signify that the green light's now out there to make fun of the missing nuke story? Is it that... because then Obama, a month after we warned, comes out and says, my biggest fear is a nuke going off in New York, and not saying who. Graham gave a speech within 3 hours of us breaking this, saying, we've got to launch an attack on Syria. You've got the quotes there from CBS News again. I don't know why it's always CBS, but they just keep popping up. He gives a speech at a town hall and says, we've got to invade, or Charleston or Manhattan will be nuked by Assad. So are they planting a nuclear false flag to blame it on Assad, who they now want us to ally with? And I saw McCain on TV this morning. I actually sent it to Nico's instant messenger. He's not here today. And McCain was on there going, Obama needs to grow up and stop throwing temper tantrums, was the headline. He needs to stop throwing fits. And we need to stop Assad with ISIS. So they think we're so dumb, they're now saying Assad is ISIS, which he's Shiite, they're Sunni, opposite group. We're funding them. I mean, the level of bull has just reached biblical proportions. Anthony Gucciardi, what do you think's really going on here? And then go through the original story that we should be recapping anyways, and another article today of another nuke commander fired today in Oklahoma, Anthony.
So you talk about bull, right? And here we have this story with exclusive quote from someone telling us, super high level, we verified that there's nukes being transferred to South Carolina. 3 hours later.
They told us directly.
They told us directly and said, you got to get this out. We vetted it and said, we don't know about this. We don't know. We looked into it. We decided to publish it and say, hey, here's what we got. 3 hours later, Lindsey Graham says South Carolina is going to be nuked. That's where he told us that the nukes were going.
I can't believe we're on air. It's us doing this.
Same day.
I mean, I can't believe that I don't want to be doing this. Where is the media? I'm sick of taking all the risk, Anthony. Do people have any idea how dangerous this is?
They have no idea what's actually happening. It's funny that those publications are making fun of it, which means it's actually true. But the same day, a month later, it's reported the #2 nuclear commander in the United States of America fired. And here, get this. Why was he fired? Was he doing something with the launch codes? No. He was in Iowa at a casino, and he may have used gambling chips improperly to the point that they can be considered counterfeit chips. You're really going to fire the #2 nuclear commander of the United States of America with launch codes to decimate any nation because of counterfeit chips in an Iowa casino? What a joke, right? What a total joke.
There was no investigation.
No, and then they admit that if the Associated Press hadn't have found out, that they wouldn't have even announced it. It was the same day the same exact day that all this came out. And then they purged 34 missile launch officers who had the codes and everything like that. They're just wiping the slate clean because they would not go along with it. Obviously, we were at that point. It made more sense at the time because it was September of 2013 when we were at a heated attempt to attack Syria. And Obama was pushing it and pushing it and pushing it and pushing it. We needed an excuse. So the excuse was we're going to get nuked if we don't go.
But it's now 30-plus generals, not just the launch officers, and then they've been purging everywhere else. I mean, that's been in the news, the unprecedented purge.
Oh, absolutely. All the top generals are freaking out and everything, and there's even generals making YouTube videos about it. But now, wing commander fired amid investigation. This is 3 days ago, just breaking here. The Commodore of the Navy Strategic Communications Wing 1, based in Oklahoma, was fired Tuesday after a loss of confidence in her ability to lead. She was not performing up to the high standards demanded in command. I mean, none of these things are giving real reasons. Oh, he played with poker chips in Iowa.
Yeah, used to it was he leaked classified info or he was, you know, going out with his secretary. No, this is all just nebulous.
It's total horse. And if you look at over and over and over again, all these things happening on September 3rd, the same day we got the intel, it is abundantly clear. And what's funny is on those reports, they make it sound wacky and crazy, like, oh my God, a nuke. But all the comments are like, no, actually, if you read the reports, all these things happen on the same day.
And we had 6 nukes missing in 2007, and then it was like 7 or 8 people died in a week who loaded them to cover it up, and they were about to fly them out to the Middle East, but again, the military police on the base knew what to recognize, that the paperwork wasn't right, went out and checked, and there was a big freak out on the tarmac because Weldon Henson had his best buddy was stationed there in the Air Force MPs, and there was a big standoff there.
Yep.
Because there's still trained people in this country that know when they're seeing something serious.
And as he was telling us, some of the people on the base already knew there were nuclear warheads there when they said they weren't. So we already know there were nuclear warheads on that base when they said that there were none on the base themselves. Which
yeah, Weldon himself was stationed at Dyess for a while.
Yes, and he said it's pretty obvious what's going on.
But this was in Louisiana at the base where they flew the Minot weapons from the Dakotas before.
No, of course, I'm tying it into how Dyess, they actually saw multiple planes and said, yo, those are actually made to carry nuclear warheads. So they were storing them there. And when I called them, they were like, we don't have any nuclear capabilities at this base. So it's just a lie web over and over and over again. And, you know, if the Pentagon can lose billions of dollars and not know where it is, they can easily, quote unquote, lose nukes. You know?
Well, and again, we thought it might have been going to the Pentax base down the road where they destroy the nukes. But that's not what happened. It went to South Carolina.
Yep. And it's funny because like this is not made up. You can go and look at the timestamps and everything. The driver said South Carolina. 3 hours before Lindsey Graham says South Carolina is going to be nuked. I mean, is that not clear enough? Is that not clear? Before the second nuclear commander in the United States get fired the same day. And I believe that individual stood up to this and said, no, I will not do it.
Anthony, what do you think's really going on?
I think there are different groups in the military that are for false flagging and are against it. And I think the number 2 nuke commander that was fired for illegal gambling chips, which is probably a total BS, was actually obstructing this and saying he was not going to launch an attack in South Carolina as a pretext to invade Syria and Iran and others. Because
we'll be right back.
Hello, this is Hank Hill, and I'm telling you what, you need to listen to Alex Jones.
Yeah. Infowars.com,
My judge, what is the secret of the universe?
Infowars.com,
The huge story, official, declassified Pentagon drills for domestic operations. They also say the training can help overseas. But to invade Texas and Utah as listed as hostile Western states to the federal takeover. And we know the John Warner Defense Authorization Act of 2007 talks about basically federalizing the National Guard to deal with state insurrections and insurrections by legislatures, not just riots. So that's the states saying, we're not going along with a gun confiscation order or an open border order. Here's the problem. The states have already been going along with all this pretty much. Texas hasn't to a certain extent. And you know they've got Governor Abbott's phone tapped. I know for a fact from a bunch of people that know him well, that I know well, famous people, you name it, that Abbott knows all about the New World Order. He's always suing the feds over gun control and open borders and carbon taxes. I mean, when he was Attorney General, the guy's just really good. He's really good. And folks don't know our new governor around the country. He's fell in a wheelchair. But it doesn't matter if he's in a wheelchair. He's a constitutionalist compared to a lot of these people. Look, he's not perfect. Ted Cruz isn't perfect either, but he's a lot better than Hillary Clinton. He's a lot better than Jeb Bush. He stands up for the Bill of Rights, Constitution, sovereignty, and the Second Amendment. And so I'll support him, Rand Paul, anybody. He's not perfect, but compared to these people, he is a lot better. You think about that. And he will reverse a lot of what's happened. There is a section of the elite in this country that doesn't want to burn the nation down, doesn't want to bankrupt everything so they can cloud and pivot. Now, you can speculate what missing nukes were about in Minot in 2007. You can speculate about these missing nukes. But the Minot nukes were found. I mean, when I came on air and said there's missing nukes, I mean, I expected the government to show up here. And I'd say, yeah, you need to investigate it. I can't believe they didn't even discredit us. They didn't say it wasn't true. They've waited almost 2 years now to have Bloomberg and others come out and make jokes about it. It's not funny. You reporters make me want to throw up. Who's this writer? David Weigel. Hey, David Weigel at Bloomberg that broke this. Do you understand that we got the call and we checked and then we called the base and they wouldn't deny it? Do you understand that I live in the real world and have 3 children, and I don't think it's funny that you're in Arrested Development and think it's cute to make jokes about this? You know, even if you lied and said I was a liar, it'd be okay if you were serious about it. But you make jokes. It's not funny. Benghazi, and over 10,000 surface-to-air M-pads missing and being proliferated. Airliners getting shot down by the crazy jihadis isn't funny. And even more serious is how our freedom will be taken. Here's the toll-free number to join us. It's 877-789-ALEX, 877-789-2539. That's the weekend number, 877-789-2539. And look at the Pacific Partnership that nobody's allowed to read, and the FCC Internet grab nobody's allowed to read, and the borders being open, and the Border Patrol there to import the illegals, and they get in trouble if they arrest an illegal. That's in Fox News today. I mean, the government isn't the government. It's been taken over. And most people in the government want to do their job and aren't bad people. So they're firing them and replacing them with generals and other people that will follow orders. But you people, following orders is not a suicide pact when the orders are unconstitutional. Anthony, I was back there getting some tea during the break, and I was just angry again. I'm fundamentally angry at the corruption, because I used to always hear these elitists like Dr. Paul Craig Roberts and others. I mean, he's on some of the biggest think tanks, you name it. Reaganomics, buddies with Ronald Reagan. I mean, you know, he's an elite economist, top 10 Forbes in the world living. And he says, no, they're insane, Alex. Yeah, they're in control. They got a plan, but they're mismanaging everything. And that's even scarier, is there's all these factions, and none of them think that we could ever have a war or get nuked. And you look at history with all the mistakes other dictators made and other elites made, they've become delusional. And then they've really got the nerve to say we're bad because we don't want to get rid of due process. Any smart elite would want to due process because that would protect them as well. What's wrong with these people, Anthony? And then get back into the nuke stories.
They think they can get away with anything. Obviously, tax rates. This year, more tax income than ever for the IRS, yet we still have a deficit, still in debt.
And Obama wants to raise taxes with executive order.
And, you know, the corporations and the people that make over $50,000 are evil, and it's their fault. But look at this. Pentagon loses track of $500 million in weapons equipment given to Yemen. Now, this is just an example. I know you've covered this already, but this is an example of how insane they are and how they truly don't care.
Show folks, it's aircraft. We're talking jets.
Let's talk about this. This is actually
battleships, cruisers.
Here's what they lost in equipment given to Yemen. They
document cam that.
Just like they, quote-unquote, lost those nukes. They lost 1.25 million rounds of ammunition, 200 Glock pistols, 200 M4 rifles, 4 helicopters, 2 Cessnas, 2 coastal patrol boats, 160 Humvees, 250 suits of body armor, 300 sets of night vision goggles. Again, this totals $500 million.
And they accidentally left all those bases for Al-Qaeda and ISIS to get in Iraq. No. Our military refused to fly it to them, so they filled up the bases and turned it over to them.
And guess what? There's more coming. They still have not yet.
By the way, Yemen is supplying Al-Qaeda.
Oh, of course, and they have not yet delivered 48 Jeep tactical vehicles.
Tell them about that gunboat.
Yeah, the 2 coastal patrol boats or the transport and surveillance aircraft. They have everything. This is enough to equip an army to kill anyone. They have not only surveillance aircrafts, but they have patrol boats, Humvees, top-level bodysuits of armor, night vision goggles, which are extremely expensive, 200 M4 rifles, 4 Huey helicopters.
Read all the other jets.
Then they have what is not yet
unmanned Eagle drones that, by the way, ISIS now has that very drone. This is so obvious.
Yep.
The Iraqi president, by the way, says we're arming him through Yemen.
Absolutely. I mean, this is obvious. I mean, and then they say, oh, they lost track of the $500 million of all of this, these aircrafts and boats and weaponry. And then we're supposed to believe that they would never transfer a nuclear weapon without telling us? Is that really what? I mean, that guy's laughing at us. Oh, yeah, right. We can trust the government. They've never done anything bad. How about losing $500 million of weapons to give to Al-Qaeda?
Well, I mean, I've got the articles right here from mainstream news in 2007. At first, I remember actually Webster Tarpley, to his credit, had the sources, and we had some as well. He was like, it is not 1 cruise missile, it is 6 fully loaded. And then they went and killed the people on the base. Within a week, like 6 or 7 were like being shot in the head and found dead. They were the ones that loaded them and followed orders. I don't know what was going on with that. The word, they were about to fly it to the Middle East when base security in Louisiana stopped them.
Remember, in 2011, Reuters revealed that Obama was arming Syrian rebels to kill Christians with all their top, weaponry systems and giving everything right over to them, arming them with weapons and giving them money. I mean, it's totally obvious. It's absolutely ridiculous that anyone would think that we can trust this arm of the government that is obviously arming Al-Qaeda, letting them use our weaponry to behead 30 Christians in a public square and watch them squirm and die and dance in their blood.
It was hundreds this week. Well, I mean, I sat there this morning. I have the clip when I'm trying to play it. But I forget the exact headline. It's like, stop throwing fits was the headline. You can go to CNN and we'll show it. And McCain goes, we got to stop Assad and Iran. We got to stop Assad and ISIS. ISIS is the opposite group. I mean, they just know the public is stupid.
And we have to stop them by giving the Syrian...
McCain met with the leader of ISIS a year and a half ago. There's photos of him.
Yep.
There it is, McCain to Obama. Get over your temper tantrum, Mr. President, and focus on ISIS. And then you watch the CNN clip, and he literally... it's just unbelievable.
They think we are genuinely mentally gone. They think they can do anything at this.
Well, a lot of the public is.
I mean, obviously.
But it doesn't mean that, I mean, here's one thing. If they were trying to build up liberty in this country and doing dirty stuff, it'd be bad enough. I'd be against it. They're screwing us over, taking our freedom. These are bad people.
It's not even, as some people think, that the system is building up the high-level income earners and all, the corporations are all in on it and stuff. Even Google is infighting with different sections of the government. It's all a big fight to glutton oneself with everything. They're not happy with just a big chunk of it. No one wins. It's a total chaos, total immoral attack on all of us.
It's stupid.
It is. Anyone who falls for this, unfortunately...
Well, I'm telling you, if I was the globalist, I'd set off a nuke in a city and blame it on the liberty movement. And basically declare civil emergency, a.k.a. martial law. Everything's building towards that. The table is set. I don't know if they're going to pull it, but we're here exposing it and trying to stop it.
Everything we said came true. Everything we've done's been right.
Feds preparing to invade Texas, lists state as hostile. See the documents for yourself. You can't make this up. Obama missing nuke, now part of election debate. See the videos, the breakdown, the new articles about it. Decide for yourself and tell us what you think. That's on Infowars.com. Let's go first to Bubba, then Francis, and then Martin and others. Go ahead, Bubba, from Virginia.
Yes, Alex. Thanks for taking my call. Yes, it's kind of actually humorous what they're talking about there. They lose all these things. They don't lose it. They purposely give it away. Because I'm a veteran, and I can tell you, anytime we come out of the field, if you lost your knowledge, your night vision device, you were done. I mean, you got an Article 15. They keep track of everything.
Sure, they have internal police all the time at the gun show from the military. If they catch an Army Guard person selling a helmet, they get a year in prison.
Yes, sir. Yeah, they take it to the pawn shop or something. Oh, yeah, they'll fry them. And what you're talking about with the purging, you're exactly spot on. They're doing this. Anybody that's still in, anybody that's working for the government that knows anything and that's read the Constitution, knows anything about it, they're trying to get us out as quickly as they can because they want a bunch of dumbed-down, ignorant buffoons in there. They'll just follow orders and go along and do whatever everybody says.
Are you currently in the military, Bubba?
I work for the DOD as a civilian.
Well, let me ask you, as somebody on the inside, well, I'm not trained in all this. We'll just talk about it so the sources come to us. What do you make of the last two missing nuke stories, the one they admit and this one? What do you think hearing all this?
It scares me because I listen to you quite a bit, and I read a lot of other stuff, and I've read a lot of other things, and I see how they do it, and I've seen all the false flags. It really scares me.
What is the point? What is the point of disappearing secret nukes that were already off the books at Dias? These are clearly illegal nukes under treaty, a hidden cache, fine, whatever. I wouldn't turn them all in anyways. I agree with that. But the point is, they're there. We know the Russians don't get rid of theirs under treaty. But the point is, why would you disappear nukes that were already secret? See, that's why this is important.
Well, what scares me is you start, watching the bouncy ball. You got nukes missing, then all of a sudden you got big airliners missing, and then you got all these different things missing.
That's right. 3 big airliners and then 10 big airliners. Great point. We got to talk about this tomorrow.
That's a really good point.
Yeah. Who's up next here? I got confused. Martin. Martin in Chicago, then Francis in New York. You're on the air, Martin. What do you think's going on?
Hey, Alex. I think you answered it yourself when you had Jim Garrow on your show on the 10th of December of 2013 as to what the reason was with the missing nukes.
What did Garrow say?
He is a former section head of the CIA.
I know who Garrow is. I forget what he said that day.
The earthquake was off the South Carolina coast was actually a detonation done by a hero admiral in the Navy, one of those nukes.
I know that they said there was a big explosion and a flash, and the Russian news reported a nuke went off, and that's all a week or two after this broke. Remember? I mean, we're living in a James Bond movie, man. I don't know. I just can't believe this. I didn't grow up in Dallas, Texas, thinking I'd be on the air with the responsibility of this, and I hate to keep going back to that, folks. It's getting surreal. God bless you. I appreciate your call, Anthony.
Well, I think that the earthquake thing is one of the things that we don't know. I think we do know all the other things that we said. We know that nukes were transferred. We know that Lindsey Graham threatened that there's going to be a nuke attack in South Carolina. 34 generals fired. Second number one new U.S. nuke command.
36 generals, 34 missile launchers.
You're right. It was 36 generals, 34. And, this number two in command fired the same day. We know all of that. Whether or not that earthquake was a nuke or not, we don't know that. But what we do know is enough. So, conjecture aside, what we do know is enough.
And now Bloomberg and everybody else is making jokes about it after a news blackout. If I made this up, they would have hung me with it. They didn't touch it for 2 years. Why are they now bringing it out, Anthony?
And the base could have just said, no, it never happened. You're crazy. And they could have made an official statement that it never happened.
That's right.
Made it all up.
Let's go to Francis in New York. You're on the air. Thanks for holding.
Hey, Alex. How are you?
I'm all right, brother. What do you think's going on here?
It's very scary. Remember Albert Pike's 3 major wars? How the third one has to be a nuclear war, not a nuclear war, but World War III has to happen.
Yes.
Which ties into the Freedom of War, the Department of State publication 7277. This is how they're going to disarm the American people because they know they can't disarm us. They can't take our guns away. So what's going to happen is they're going to cause a World War III, and they're going to take our guns away using that.
I agree with you. And, listen, the globalists gave orders in the 60s to detonate over 200 hydrogen bombs in the atmosphere in an attempt to damage the atmosphere. They admit this on History Channel. So don't think they won't set a nuke off and blame it on somebody. Here's another question. Who are they going to blame if they do have a nuclear false flag?
Oh, the libertarian people, Constitution people.
Yeah, they'll claim it's some libertarian colonel did it or something. I'm telling you. You can just see it happening. You can write the script.
I got another question for you. The net neutrality, how they're trying to, pass all these FCC BS laws for us for the internet. You think there's new phones now that have the fingerprints on them? Do you think
absolutely
is that part of it?
The admitted plan a decade ago was that all keyboards and all phones will be biometric by law globally. China's going to this. And then if you have 3 strikes, no, not convicted, but 3 strikes on the internet of copyright violation or bad behavior, you'll be banned from the internet. So that's what an internet ID is about, is to tax and then kick you off the web and basically put you in a non-digital gulag, like putting Jews in the Warsaw Ghetto. So you're dead on, brother. Thank you for the call, Francis. Who's up next, guys? Andy in Nebraska. You're on the air.
Hi, Alex. Can you hear me?
I sure can. Thanks for calling. Go ahead.
God bless you guys for what you do. About the nuke thing, Lucifer already revealed plans to attack That's Pennsylvania city. So anyone with half a brain, especially here in Nebraska, know it happened.
All right, well, your phone's breaking up. I appreciate your call. Notice when the globalist stage attacks, it's the middle of nowhere, Oklahoma City. It's, 9/11, it's the World Trade Center, but they never attack the UN or actual globalist. So when they set a nuke off, God forbid, but I've seen the propaganda getting ready for that, just watch, it won't be, or they might actually nuke the Congress when it's in session, though, and that'd really bring in martial law. I mean, these little Congress critters need to know that they're going to be set up because they know where the bodies are buried. In fact, if I was the globalist, I might actually blow up Congress during a State of the Union and get rid of all of them at once.
I believe she was referring also to Guccifer, the emails that were leaked saying that Philadelphia was the false flag target for a nuclear attack in 2015.
And he got into world leaders' emails. He's in prison, and he said they were planning a nuclear false flag. I forgot. Great point, caller. Sorry, you were so distorted I couldn't hear you. Could you hear her?
Barely. But I think that's what she...
We need to go big on this because, I mean, I'm telling you, I really felt bad when I saw them attack me yesterday, and we haven't been covering it enough.
This is the ultimate thing. I mean, this is the ultimate...
We need to be covering Guccifer confirm what we said about nukes. I mean, Guccifer got into the head of NATO's emails and world leaders' emails, admittedly.
Well, I think we've talked about it so much, someone just needs to put together a compendium piece of it, of all of us.
We also need to realize history's happening. I mean, this is devastatingly real. We know this is real.
I mean, we could sit here and talk about it all day, but at the end of the day, if a nuke does go off and they simply say libertarian parties did it, and here's what I believe they'll say, they'll just say keyword ISIS.
I hear you.
Say ISIS helped them because they both hate America.
That's right. And give your rights up. Chris in Pennsylvania, go ahead.
Great to be on air. Proud Info Warrior. Prison Planet subscriber.
Thank you.
Been this up for several years. I really appreciate everything all your reporters do. This right here, this missing nuke issue that we got going on, this is perfect for the InfoWar, and I'm going to tell you how, because this is something that transcends all Black Lives Matter, all the stuff that's going on with the police right now. This affects everybody. Black, white, green, yellow, it does not matter. This affects you. That's the angle right there. You could take this and say, hey, listen, did you know that these nuclear bombs came up missing and there was a massive cover-up? This is a groundbreaking, wide open, and that can transcend all the garbage. Absolute pure garbage that's going on right now with the Black Lives Matter movement and with the whole police brutality issues that we.
Let me ask you this question, and in your gut, Chris, why do you think they're now attacking us over this 2 years later?
I think, in my gut feeling, why the reason why they're attacking right now with this is because we had one info warrior who had the gall to ask Rick Santorum the question, which brought it into they couldn't just cover that up. They couldn't just sweep that under the rug. That brought it back to the forefront. So then they had to start running cover stories behind it. To be like, oh, well,
that's right.
You know.
Chris, you're awesome. Call me back tomorrow. These callers are so incredible. Carl, Todd, if you call me tomorrow, I'll get you on. I apologize. We're out of time. We got to just keep discussing this tomorrow. In fact, we're going to continue tomorrow with this. Anthony, final comment?
I think ultimately Chris hit it right on the head. We've brought it to the forefront. Now they're just playing cleanup.
Yeah, so I guess that's it. I mean, it was forced out because they had a total blackout before. And I mean, to do that takes a lot of control, folks. This has been a big story. Pray for us. We'll pray for you. Great job with the crew. Lord willing, 11 a.m. tomorrow. We'll be here live. I tell you. Ooh.
Another major health threat, this one in Toledo, Ohio, where everybody in the entire city has been told not to drink the water.
Ohio's governor declaring a state of emergency.
Did you know that the average person uses about 80 to 100 gallons of water at home every single day? If there's a water emergency, will you be prepared?
Panicked residents forming long lines throughout the day.
We're here at a supermarket in Toledo. You can see the shelves empty where water once was.
To stay safe and healthy during a crisis, you must have access to safe, clean water. Water which will not be available at your local grocery store.
There's a mad dash on right now to stock up on supplies.
The ProPure Pro 1 G2.0 water filtration system is a must-have for every modern, independently minded household. Protect your family's safety during an emergency. Go to InfoWarsStore.com today to purchase your ProPure Pro 1 G2.0 water filtration system or call 1-888-253-3139.